What is the most embarrassing thing that has happened to you when meeting someone for the first time? One day at work I stepped on a beehive, resulting in a medium-sized swarm of bees to furiously rage up through my pants leg. Fast forward 30 minutes and I wake up in the ear hooked up to an IV with a MD examining my nether bits which had swollen to approx the size of ripe grapefruits. We had a good laugh. Then he asked why I had listed his daughter as my emergency contact, and that's the first time I met my girlfriend's dad. TLDR. Giant balls impressed girlfriend's dad. Thank God he mentioned this before you made her. My girlfriend is going to love this joke. I was matched with a temp job with a high-end real estate firm in my area several months back. During my initial interview with the office controller, she informed me that she and Emily, one of the head agents, were both pregnant and actually had the same due date. Turns out there were 2 agents named Emily. I didn't meet the pregnant one first. I just met the fat one. My congratulations and inquiries about name and gender were not well received. I'm blushing just thinking about it. The year was 1997. I was in the 2nd grade and after watching a lot of late night episodes of The Wonder Years, I wanted my own Winnie Cooper. I knew exactly who I wanted, but just needed to find a way to impress her. One day the scenario was perfect. We were in gym class, playing foursquare and basketball. The foursquare ball bounces up a set of stairs so I go up to get it, while her basketball rolls to the bottom of the stairs. I for a split second feel like a superhero and think she will think I'm a magician if I walk on her basketball. Not ever taking a physics class before, I step on it, and it rolls. I fall down and break my arm in 2 places and cry all the way to the nurse. Had a cast for 12 weeks. The next time I saw her was at the town's pool about a year later. I wanted to impress her by diving off the diving board. I did a belly flop and got a bloody nose. I was tired and distracted at work. My boss comes over with a new colleague. This is medium panda. This is new guy Jack. I get up and splash coffee all over the guy. I had forgotten I had a cup in my right hand when I was trying to shake hands. You should have finished with now clean that up, new guy. When I was a freshman in high school, I joined the track team. There was this extremely attractive senior girl on the team that nearly everyone had a crush on. We all just secretly admired her from afar as we went about practice. One day after school, we ended up walking toward the field at the same time. I awkwardly walked near her trying not to look over. After a minute or so, she noticed me and started up a conversation. "Hey, you're on the track team, right?" she said. I was overwhelmed that she was talking to me. "Yes," I said, looking straight ahead. "Yeah, Johnny, right?" I was not Johnny. Johnny was another freshman. "No," still looking straight ahead. "Oh, sorry. What's your name then?" I was nervous. It was all made worse by how nice she was being to me. I wanted to stay and run at the time. "I don't know," I heard myself saying. It's not that I blanked on my name or anything. Of course, I knew my own name. I just didn't know how to answer. I really wished my name was Johnny at that moment. And then after I had said I don't know, I realized how silly I must have seemed. "You don't know your own name?" she asked and laughed. "No," I said and ran away. She never tried to talk to me again. Meeting my potential boss for the first time. I had a cup of tea in a saucer that had just been passed to me in one hand. There was nowhere and no time to put it down before I was introduced to the man who would be my boss if I got the position. I shook his hand and he held onto it for an uncomfortably long time. Unfortunately, out of nowhere I really violently sneezed. I tried to turn away but only succeeded in spilling my hot tea down his trousers and getting snot all over his shoulder and jacket. Me. "Oh, you mean that's not a fake Scottish accent?" Him. "I'm Irish." Me. "Did you bring any bagpipe music?" Him. "Again, that's Scottish." And number. Me. "I love bagpipe music." Stay on target. That's the spirit. When I was doing charity work in Albania age 17, I met a local man who was to show us around a school in need of help. Upon being introduced, I put my hand out to shake. He merely looked at me quizzically. I was confused by this and moved my hand to indicate a shaking action. Perhaps it wasn't such a common custom in Albania? Maybe I was being rude. Why wasn't he shaking my hand? After about 15 seconds of this, I looked down and noticed that he had no arms. Hitting on hot girl at amusement park. Not watching where I am walking. Walk into trash can. Break phone. Girl falls over laughing. No number for jackature. No number for jackature sounds like some Russian sitcom catchphrase. It was freshman year of college. Second day of school. I lived in a treehouse dorm housing 24 people that was sorta separated from other dorms, but there was another treehouse next door to ours. Given the intimate environment, it was natural for us to get to know each other. We were walking together to dinner and there was one person in the other dorm who looked androgynous. I couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl. I turned to my buddies and they couldn't tell either. I looked out at the bigger group of us walking and I could see some people staring, probably trying to figure out the same thing. I made my challenge accepted stance and decided I would get to the bottom of this mystery. I approached this person and started a conversation. Oh, where are you from? What classes are you gonna take? And blah blah blah, finally leading up to saying, by the way, what's your name now? At this point I had decided in my mind this was a girl. So when the person answered, my name is David. What's yours? I laughed a little and said, really? I've never met a girl named David before. As I heard the words leave my mouth I quickly realized the error in my ways but could do nothing about this male saying, I'm not a girl. There was no way to talk my way out of this. No cure for the embarrassment. My buddies were looking on in horror and I just felt absolutely awful for my mistake. I did the best I could, quickly apologized, said I didn't know what I was talking about, and changed topic. Sad thing is, later on in the year, David told me that what I had done wasn't the worst he'd ever gotten. He was in a supermarket before coming to college and a woman stopped him in the aisle asking, how many months are you? Luckily, over the 4 years of college, he lost weight and his hormones kicked in and by the time he graduated he had become much more masculine. Good guy, too, especially for forgiving me. I was about 13 and my neighbor was 7 and our families were meeting for the first time and we both said hello to each other. Then he said want to see something cool and I said sure. Then he proceeded to pull his pants down and show me a freckle on his balls. Family was right next to us and everything and no one noticed. Haunts me to this very day. I started a new job last October. On my first day, I was not aware of the company's seating arrangements and so simply took the first seat that appeared to be vacant. Turns out I had stolen my soon-to-be boss's seat, and he was too polite to tell me. The next day, I sat back down in the same place. My boss finally decided it was time to introduce himself, if only to redeem his stolen seat. He came up and said, hi, I'm your boss, and that's my seat. Whereupon, mortified, I proceeded to blabber incoherent apologies and pleasantries. To add insult to injury, I managed to get his name wrong. All in all, not a great start. He later told me that he relished every second of that experience. A friend of mine met a girl on crutches and when the topic moved on to why she was on crutches she told him that she was attacked by a shark. My friend peed himself laughing. Then he realized no one else was laughing but staring daggers at him. She said, I'm not joking. She really had been attacked by a shark and lost a lot of flesh and muscle on her leg. I just met my new female housemate. 2 minutes later I went to use the toilet, only she had forgotten to lock the door and was in the middle of taking a banging crap. Awkward. If developed a technique for just such an occasion. If you strike the door with your closed fist several times, it will create a loud noise, alerting anyone potentially inside the bathroom. They can then alert you to their presence, even before you enter. My boyfriend and I were laying on his bed buck naked with the lights out and a fan on while watching Breaking Bad on an extremely hot summer day. All of a sudden we hear his sister walking down the stairs talking to someone, and since her bedroom was next to his we didn't think anything of it. Next thing we know she comes storming in and turns on the lights with my boyfriend's soon-to-be sister-in-law because she wanted to meet me. I still blush uncontrollably when I think about it. Nah, she's a socially awkward one for busting into a couple's room without knocking. She knew the risks. I have a friend who embarrassed himself in a first meeting. He's a social worker and was interviewing for a job. The interviewer was an African American woman with a picture of MLK Jr. on the wall behind her. He sat down and said, "That's a nice looking man. Is that your husband?" Somehow he actually got that job. Well, he is a good looking guy. I moved into a new place with 2 housemates. The girl housemate was overseas, so I didn't get to meet her until after I'd moved in. It was about 11 PM one night and I cruised downstairs to the kitchen for a late snack in my tighty whities. Sure enough, I hear a key in the front door and she comes in. I don't know what was more disturbing, meeting her in just my underwear or the fact I was holding a raw carrot and tub of peanut butter at the time. The only thing embarrassing here is that you were wearing tighty whities. I had just moved to a new town and was getting on the bus to go to school. This particular bus was packed, so every seat was filled, often had people standing. I sat down next to a girl in one of those 2-seaters. She was against the window. She starts to go on about what she did last night for like a good 10 minutes. I'm just sitting there nodding, reacting to what she says and paying attention. After this goes on for a while, I figure I should at this point introduce myself. Oh hey BTW, my name is Vinny. I was talking to my friend in the seat across from you. I turned away and stared at the floor in the aisle. It was a long bus ride. You found an opening in conversation and introduced yourself. She's the biatch who didn't respond. I took a girl out to for ice cream with some friends before a school dance. Everything was going fine until someone told a joke. I had ice cream in my mouth, so I laughed through my nose. This shot a booger out of my nose and onto the hand of my date. I was being introduced to someone, but not really paying much attention. As the man introduced himself, he said, "My name is Ted. Pleasure to meet you." I responded simply with, "Thank you." Got very awkward as I continued being distracted. Never really cleared it up. I probably seemed like a real douche. I was at a casual acquaintance's house when I needed to take a leak, so I asked his parents, he was outside at the moment, for directions to the toilet. Having found it and done my business, I walked past them and for no real reason blurted out, "You're welcome." I was hanging out with this girl and met her parents for the first time. The dad noticed I had an iPhone and asked if he could play with it because he was thinking of buying one. He clicked on Alien Blue, the Reddit app, because he thought it was a game and I still had gone wild open. Needless to say, he purchased an iPhone the next day. Okay, got one that happened just a few weeks ago. I went to my buddy Kane's place to play some board games and have a few drinks. 2 important things to know. I am extremely claustrophobic and we live in Hong Kong. My buddy's living room is about 70 square feet. There were 7 of us there, 2 of which I had met that evening, all having a good time and drinking up. I started to feel abnormally hot and very uneasy about my surroundings. I went into the washroom and washed my face, and whilst doing so, started shaking really badly. If you're claustrophobic, I had the trapped feeling, but it was worse than I'd ever experienced before. It being like 30°C and humid as heck didn't help. I walked out and took a seat next to my girlfriend, and the next thing I know, I'm puking in the toilet. Now, I didn't have much to drink and I was quite confused at this point. How the heck did I get there? Apparently, I sat down and told her I wasn't feeling well. Then my eyes rolled back and I nosedived into the table. As my friend was trying to pick me up, I managed to puke all over his living room as well as hitting my newfound friends. I'm awesome. I woke up and my roommate's incredibly attractive sister was standing near my bed. He wasn't in the room and my sleep-deprived brain thought the best thing to say was I didn't order any services, but I'm not going to refuse them. I was 19. She was 16. She giggled and my roommate came in from the other room and glared at me. "This is my sister, lolmonger." I ducked back under the covers, mortified. Before I saw your name I actually thought he used lolmonger as an insult. After an evening of heavy drinking I spent the night at the house of a girl I had just started dating. She lived with her mum. Parents divorced. I awoke in the middle of the night having to take a pee and after checking that the coast was clear, I scampered naked down the hall to the bathroom. I quickly returned and jumped into bed only to be met with "Whoa, whoa, what are you doing?" I was frozen with confusion until the girl opened the door and revealed that I had crawled in bed with her mother. Turns out I made a wrong turn on my way back and entered the mother's bedroom across the hall. I covered myself the best I could and jumped out of her bed as they both burst out laughing. Thankfully they were good-natured about it, although I do hope it was the situation that they were laughing at. Alright, I was at a resort in Mexico. I was 16 at the time, and I see a very attractive girl. So I go up and start talking with her. Things are going good. I told her I was 18. She was 22. And my mom walks up to ask me if I am eating lunch. I said no. Then the girl said, you know, your son is very mature for an 18-year-old, to which my mom says 18. He's not 18. He's 16 inches. It was pretty awkward. Your mom didn't rat you out. That girl called your bluff. 10 years ago, I was crushing over a girl in freshman year. She was standing around with mutual friends and I knew her name was Monica, but we had never actually met. I walked up to her and introduced myself, saying, "Hi, I'm Monica." Did the same thing. Met someone my husband used to go to school with. She walks up and says, "Hi, I'm Amber," to which I reply, "That's my name too." Oh wait, no it's not. Wanting to impress a girl on the first date, we played frisbee with her dog. Frisbee gets stuck in tree. Wanting to look smart, I saw a long piece of wood nearby, got it and reached for the frisbee. Couldn't quite get it, so began to jump up to get extra reach. Success. And accompanied by a huge fart as I landed. Ah, good, my shocks are working. I was at a swank rooftop cancer benefit. My friends were getting to know some of the cooler guests. I may have had one too many drinks. The mediocre cover band started playing Goodbye Horses. I, a bit over-enthusiastic about film references, ran over to my friends to reenact the scene from Silence of the Lambs. I was sure they would get the reference. It turns out nobody was listening to the music, and all they knew was that I had run up to them grabbing my genitals and saying, "Would you frick me?" I'd frick me. They stared at me in alarm. The other guests instantly dispersed, and my friends were pretty pee. All in all, it probably was a pretty awkward thing to do. A few years ago I was out drinking with some friends. After a few drinks, the conversation moved off the usual highbrow topics into boisterous jokes when my friend's little sister walks into the bar. After the usual circle of introductions, it came my turn. Just as she turned for my introduction, I took a big drink of my beer the same time as one of my friends made a crude joke. Needless to say, trying to laugh with a mouthful of beer didn't go down too well. In fact, I basically inhaled my beer, choked, and half vomited, coughed up the beer, splattering the poor girl from head to toe, trying to clear my lungs. I never saw her run out the bar. I was trying to breathe air again. Never did see her again after that. I met a lovely girl at a party several years ago and we really hit it off. After about 30 minutes of conversation and flirting, it came up in conversation that I went to the same middle school as her. The party wasn't in the same city as the middle school. We went back and forth telling stories about that school, and after a few rounds came back to me talking about the nastiest teacher I have ever had. One day the teacher brought in a guitar and sang folk songs as a treat to the students. I know that actually sounds like a nice thing to do, but trust me, this was the most evil teacher. We all laughed at her and she stopped playing. That was the short version of the story I told the girl. The last thing the cute girl said to me was, "Yeah, I remember that. My mom came home and wouldn't stop crying." This made me sad. The whole eye contact thing bothers me. I was born with strabismus, often mistaken for lazy eye. While my eyes didn't point in different directions, the alignment was so off that when I was looking directly at someone, they would almost always turn around to see what I was looking at. In grade school I would often get yelled at for not looking at the teacher when asked, but I was always too embarrassed to say it was just the way my eyes were. I was teased in school, and even at times my friends joked around about it. It caused me huge social anxiety and stress. Eventually I just kept my eyes downcast at all times. 2 years ago at age 21 I had surgery on both of my eyes. I can't describe the confidence boost it's given me. Yet, I'm still paying the medical bills. But I don't care. The amount of misunderstandings and arguments and awkward situations caused by the strabismus far outweigh the cost. TLDR. Eyes crooked. Made everything suck. Had surgery. Stuff's awesome. I imagine when a tough guy accuses you of looking at his girl, you just bring up that you have strabismus and he looks like a dong. Then you punch him in the throat and reveal that you had it corrected. Who's the dong now, tough guy? Match.com. First date with the guy, we decide to go cheap cause we're both broke and have a movie night at my place. So he gets here. I get him a drink and I end up making him laugh so hard it comes out his nose and sprays all over my carpet. I try to take that as a compliment, LMAO. Then homeboy decides it's time for a smoke break. I tell him we can smoke on the balcony. He gets all excited. You have a balcony, jumps up and rushes over to the door, opens it and runs directly into the screen. Not only does he run into the screen door, which is so obviously there, he runs into it so hard that it shoots out of the frame and launches off the balcony onto my neighbor's porch below, where my elderly neighbor is smoking a joint, which really just added to the oddity of the situation. My neighbor, whom I have never spoken to, ended up passing up the screen door. Stupid thing is still broken. That's right, the guy didn't even help me fix it, and we dated for like 9 months. What a boob. Weirdest first date ever. You may have dated a dog. I went out on a coffee date with a guy who I really wasn't getting along too well with. He asked me if I'd like to sit in his car after we left to chat a little, and since I honestly had nothing better to do, I thought sure, why not? Maybe he's less weird and full of himself when he's outside of a Starbucks. Halfway through our very boring conversation about himself, he blinked rather rapidly and kind of made a pondering look like he had just had an epiphany about whether or not sunbed caused cancer. Then he looked at me and said, "Would you mind rolling your window down?" I said, "Why do you want me to roll my window down?" He said, "Because I just farted and it really smells." I said, "Oh," and rolled my window down and just sort of stared at the dashboard while our minds wrapped around the fact that the car was now the bog of eternal stench. I shook his hand and said I had to go, and he said okay then, and I never saw him again. About a year ago I went to a house party near my college and only knew one other guy at the party. I had decided to go last minute and didn't have time to change out of the short shorts I was wearing. I'm a guy, not sure why I was wearing short shorts. Anyway, my friend introduces me to a group of cute girls who immediately compliment me on the short shorts. Since the World Cup was going on at the time, I decided to make a comment about how the shorts were perfect for playing soccer. I stepped back, wound up, and proceeded to show them my kick. Well, I kicked so hard that my foot on the ground became lifted up and I fell right on my butt in front of everyone. Everyone laughed at me as I ran into the house to call a friend to pick me up. TLDR. Slipped on my butt while trying to impress a group of cute girls I just met. I will give you a shortened version. I was on a family trip for Thanksgiving to meet some relatives that I had never met before. One thing leads to another and they are all drunk, including my parents. My drunk dad then goes on to make a statement that teenagers spend a lot of time in the shower. If you know what I mean. Then he looks at me, nudges me on the arm and says, "Hey buddy, you used to spend a lot of time in the shower." TLDR. My father told my entire family that I jerk off in the shower. They already knew. My best friend's mother was good friends with the dean of admissions at my top choice school. Total coincidence. I went to visit the school with my friend and his mom, and we were going to be staying with the dean for the weekend. What a great opportunity. Not even an hour after first meeting the dean, I clogged his toilet and could not find a plunger. After 20 minutes and 20 flushes, I went downstairs and told my friend's mom. Quietly, she decides it's hilarious and blurts it out to the dean's wife, who insists on plunging the toilet herself. I followed her to the bathroom, pleading with her to hand over the plunger and let me take care of it. She wouldn't give it up, and I watched in horror as she knelt over the toilet and went ahead plunging my poops. I still got in. Ain't that some crap? I was going over to my buddy's apartment for a little shindig. On my way there, I noticed that there was a lot of intact stuff near the dumpster. Somebody was moving out. So, me, being the dumpster diving hobo that I am, decided to take a gander. As I was rifling through the contents near the dumpster, I noticed a girl walking by, staring at me. I thought, well, that's embarrassing. Good thing I won't see her again. I got to my buddy's place, and lo and behold, the girl is there, and asks, "Were you that guy digging in the dumpster?" loud enough for everyone, including other people I hadn't met yet, to hear. I told a guy after bumping into me, "Hey, don't touch me there, you're not my grandpa." As it turns out, he was physically shamed by his grandpa and went running from the room. I took my new girlfriend out to play a nice game of mini golf, and not let her win. She was going to have to earn my companionship. A few holes in, I decided to be the funny guy and jump across one of the stupid rivers that many golf courses have. After falling in the river and dyeing all my clothes blue, we left the mini golf course early after I quit. So she won, and we are still together. This was the first date. Pretty ballsy to call her your girlfriend before the first date. I had a huge crush on this girl the first year of college. All of my friends knew and they decided to get us alone together, which was pretty sweet. I introduced myself, sat down, and there was just awkward silence for a good 2 minutes. She literally did not want this to go anywhere. Finally, I asked her some boring, cliché, meeting for the first time questions. After a few more painful minutes of those, she said she had to go meet some friends somewhere. We were supposed to hang out the whole night. I was a freshman in college when I met my so in a physics class. We were both physics majors in a small physics program, but I hadn't met any others yet, and at the time my so and I had just started to become friends. So, he decided to introduce me to the gang. They were all men, except my so's sister who, when I walked into the room, was wearing some BA boots and talking about how much she hated women. I was afraid she was going to stiletto me like a kitten. All the guys are like, "Who are you, female?" I announced I was a physics major. 2. I was immediately bombarded with "Do you like Star Trek? Which Pokemon is your favorite? Kirk or Picard?" etc. So, I'm surrounded by 6 people I don't know, 1 who apparently hates me, the rest who are seriously nerding me out, when one of them begins to chant "one of us," and the others picked up on it. One of us, one of us, one of us, one of us, one of us. I don't know if I'd ever been so happy or had ever been so afraid for my life. A few years back, my girlfriend and I go out for dinner with 2 of her older brothers. I've been dating her for maybe a month or 2 at that point, and this is the first time I meet them. She warned me in advance that sometimes they can be pricks to guys she dates, so of course I'm a little nervous to meet them. At some point in the evening, she excuses herself and goes to the restroom, so it's just me and the 2 brothers, sitting together, having nothing really to talk about. We're all just sitting there, waiting for her to return and experiencing that awkward silence of having to sit with people you've just met, knowing that they're probably judging everything you say. The older of the 2 looks at me, and in an attempt to break the uncomfortable silence, asks, "So, not Gordon, what do you do in your spare time?" Now, I really hate being asked that question. I always fear that my answer is going to be lame. I mean, most normal people I know tend to do the same things: watch movies and sports, read books and or comic books, work out, futz around online, play games with friends, go out drinking, etc. So I have no idea what to say that wouldn't sound lame. I'm nervous enough as it is, so I panic. And when I panic, I tend to try and be funny. "What do you do in your spare time?" The words bounce around in my head, and I answer the first thing that pops in my brain: "Your sister." I want to know what happened after that. My friend brought over his new girlfriend one day, unannounced, when I was suffering through a bout of brutal food poisoning. I am not a quiet vomiter. Best first impression ever. He was probably assuring that she never cheats on him with you. Knew this beautiful girl since 6th grade, always had a huge crush on her. We never speak to each other from 6th grade through high school. I'm a P. We both move out of town. When I'm 22, she hits me up on MySpace. We agree to hang out. She's the most amazing girl I'd ever met. Have a great dinner with lots of long conversations. Had a great time at a bar. We get back to her place and pass out. No freaking. I wake up in a lake of my own pee. As I'm trying to decide whether or not to just get up and run, her alarm goes off. I wanted to die. Then she dated me for 2 years. WTF was she thinking? TL. DR. Meet girl of dreams. Better pee myself. When I was touring with my friend's band through Canada, we met members of a hardcore band in Ottawa that were from Montreal who were going to put us up for the night. The lead singer gave us his keys to his apt and we drove without him to his apt in Montreal where the next gig was. We were told to just sleep anywhere we could find a space. I slept on the floor in his roommate's room under her dresser, which consisted of square wicker bins put into a bookshelf type space. In my sleep I accidentally knocked over one of the bins on top of me without realizing. I was woken up by the lead singer and the girl standing over me with dozens of the girl's panties on my head, face, and chest. Crap was weird. Excited to meet them, you spit a little saying your own name. They clearly see it fly onto their shirt and the world slowly collapses around you. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.